Good evening, guys. Can you turn on your mics, just the board members?
Actually, what happens is you really need to turn them off because you'll get some feedback in here.
Right.
So, but if you are speaking, if you would turn it on so you see the green light. Because we try that sometimes. If we get too many of them on, you start getting that really bad feedback in here. So
I forgot about that. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. This is the City of Sugar Land Parks Board meeting. It's 5:31 on November 14th, 2023, and I'm calling the Sugar Land Parks Board meeting to order. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that this meeting is an open meeting. It's open to the public and is recorded as per the Texas Open Meeting Act, which is also available to the public itself. So with that said, I'm going to ask the question, are there any public comments?
No, sir.
Thank you. Okay, before we start, I think we're going to have Joe announce something that I think most everyone knows, but we'll go ahead and.
you know, but I have put in for my retirement with the City of Sugar Land. So I'll be retiring at the end of February. So a couple of more, be here a few more months.
2030.
Yeah. 2024. So I've got a few more months. While I'm in this period, both William and Kimberly are assistant directors. So they'll be taking on some additional duties and kind of sitting in as interim role so they can kind of get kind of accustomed to it, the position. And then they're advertising for the position out to fill at some point later on, probably this year, and then the ultimate starting after I'm done. So just wanted to make that announcement. And so Kimberly's kind of running the meeting tonight or doing what I do. Hope will run the meeting like he always does. We're just here to support you.
Yeah.
So
Whatever you need.
whatever you need.
Yeah, this won't be a final goodbye for Joe, but we're going to have a big party, hopefully.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll have to wait for that.
All right, so we'll continue on with the orientation. Roman numeral 3, review and discussion of the Parks Board Advisory Board orientation overview of the Parks and Recreation Department. William Hodgick, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, will be presenting.
Thank you, Eugene. Good evening, Parks Board. Today we're going to go over the review and discussion of Parks Advisory Board roles and responsibilities. It's our annual orientation. So department overview, I'll go quickly here because I know all of y'all are not new to Parks Board. So our department mission and vision is striving to create and maintain unparalleled recreation opportunities and unique, high-quality parks and public spaces while enhancing our community with exceptional customer service. Active, passive, and multi-generational and diverse premier recreation is our goal. So our department overview, our divisions, administration division, most of y'all met Michelle. She just started with us as our administration manager. Welcome, Michelle. Maintenance and development, the T. Harmon Senior Center, Imperial Park Recreation Center, recreation, special events, and we have 31 full-time and 9 part-time. So we have over 2,500 of park acres here in the city of Sugar Land, 1,100 developed acres. That's a little more than that. Now, 1,406 undeveloped acres. We just annexed some more Brazos River Park that Joe talked about last meeting. 30 plus miles of trails, 27 parks, 15 neighborhood parks, 6 community parks, and 6 regional parks. Quite a few parks. We have some special use facilities, the Crown Festival Park. They just had a big festival last weekend. The Town Square Plaza, we don't maintain it, but we have a lot of events right outside here at City Hall. The plaza adjacent to the Parks Financial Center, we do maintain that plaza outside of Smart with the restroom and splash pad. And of course, the Great Zipline and Adventure Park, the public-private partnership that y'all know all about. Some of y'all have already done that course. That's at Brazos River Park. Activity centers, Imperial Park Recreation Center houses our fitness and recreational programs. The T. Harmon Senior Center, which we're going to talk a little bit more about tonight, It's tailored to our 50 years and older citizens. So y'all know that Brandon comes up and talks a lot about special events at least once a year, sometimes more than that. And we have special events at Recreation Center as well, and quite a few more than I can mention tonight, or we'd be here all day. But an average one or two a month, right? With some big ones coming up. Okay, moving on to our purpose, duties, and responsibilities. The council vision is for Parks Board to provide input, feedback, and advice on projects and programs to enrich the visual and aesthetic environment of the city. To advise on other matters relating to long-term goals and objective for parks, recreation, and cultural activities, streetscapes, and urban forestry program. And to ensure an environment where all citizens can share and enjoy the full diversity and vitality of our beautiful city. To make recommendations to parks and recreation staff, city council, and city manager or the designee regarding parks, recreation, and open space master plan, pedestrian and bicycle plan, cultural arts strategic plan, public arts plan, proposed development of city parks and facilities, long-term goals, objectives, and policies pertaining to parks and recreational activities, designs, and plans. Additional duties, make recommendations to the city manager or designee regarding the establishment of any park ordinance, serve as an appeal board for department policies affecting the public. Serve as the city's tree advisory board in accordance with section 538(2). And then there's the city council policy number and city council ordinance number. Excuse me. Who are you representing? Citizens, RETJ, youth sports associations, community organizations and groups, visitors, guests, and tourists of our city. Our customers, you are the sounding board of citizens' needs and desires. You survey tools and input and public input opportunities for needs assessment. Most importantly, have direct person-to-person contact with citizens, both users and non-users of parks and recreational facilities and programs. Handling complaints and suggestions, avoid arguing, always thank citizens for their comments, get specific information, and remember that it's okay not to know all the answers. That's what we're here for. Refer citizens to call 311 or the 2825 number or email 311. We're willing to invest in your time and attend the majority of your meetings. Balance your special interests with those on the board. Develop priorities as a team and be willing to compromise when appropriate. Listen and withhold judgment until all facts are discussed. Represent the board at various community functions. Seek and have a well-rounded interest in all areas of parks, art, recreation, and culture. Your commitment is essential to the success of this Parks Board. Be willing to invest your time and attend the majority of the Parks Board meetings. City Council can dismiss any member for poor attendance. 3 consecutive meetings missed, except for special circumstances, is deemed automatic resignation. Check your emails often. Michelle's going to send those out. Respond in a timely manner. Meetings cannot occur if there's no quorum met, so we need 5 board members to be present. And virtual attendance doesn't count. There is a virtual attendance option if necessary, but it doesn't count towards the quorum, and we would prefer in person. Okay, here's all of y'all lovely folks. Thanks for coming tonight. And our meetings, of course, are on the second Tuesday of each month unless otherwise announced. And that would be well announced ahead of time from Michelle. The asterisk next to December is sometimes we don't have a December meeting because of the holidays. Okay. We follow the Roberts Rule of Order and organize well-run meetings. Speak one at a time and listen to others. Avoid discussing unrelated topics during the agenda items. Our post meeting is we're to support the decisions and recommendations of your voice and move forward with one unified voice. And with that, quick and painless, I'm done, and I'll take any questions that y'all have. Thank you, Gilbert. Any questions on the annual orientation? I know y'all have all done.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'll see y'all next year at the same place.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next item we have on the agenda, annual ethics and training. Receive training related to the Sugar Land Code of Ethical Conduct and state laws regulating ethics and reporting responsibilities of city officials. Meredith, City Attorney will be presenting tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Meredith Reedy. I have had the privilege of working with the city since 1997. So I have seen all kinds of craziness, and I'm here to make sure that you do not participate in that craziness. And you will find that I have a little bit of a wicked sense of humor. So as we are learning ethics, you're going to play a game. And although William got down without causing you any pain, this is going to be very painful for you. You may actually laugh. So what are the objectives of the games today? It is to fulfill your obligation to receive annual training pursuant to the code. And getting an overview. You have to spend about 10 minutes with me. So who gets to play this game? Well, members of City Council, members of an administrative and advisory board, such as yourself, former City Council member, administrative and advisory board members are sometimes invited to play, and occasionally we let candidates for City Council play as well. Now, everything we go over today will not necessarily apply to your board, but I don't know if you have aspirations to join a different board or even maybe run for council. So on the outside chance that is your next step, I want to go ahead and go those rules with you. Or if you decide somebody on this board or a different board hasn't been following the rules, I want to make sure you know how to tell them. So what are the rules of the game? There are 8 basic rules. I will go into further detail, but you must disclose conflicts of interest. You get to brag out gifts, which is timely because it is the holiday season. Everybody wants to bribe you with the turkey. You have to talk about certain times you're related to vendors because we like to brag about what our family members are doing. Can't do business with the city if you're on city council. Representations and appearances at other boards. This is where I like to talk about which hat are you wearing. And I didn't bring my hat, but it looks really cute when I take it off. Misuse of city property, participation in the procurement process, and campaign activities. So here we go. What is a conflict of interest? It's a special economic benefit. There are 2 rules to keep in mind, the business entity rule and the real property. So how do you know if you have a conflict of interest or a special economic benefit in a business entity? Keep in mind the rule of 10 and 15. So you, your spouse, your children, or your parents own 10% or more of the voting stock of a business entity. Congratulations, you have a conflict of interest. If you receive more than 10% of your last annual income from this company, congratulations, you still have a conflict of interest. Or if you own $15,000 or more of the fair market value of that company. So since you're not voting on contracts, don't worry about it. This only applies when you want to go hang out with P&Z or city council. Real property, the rule of 25. It should really be the rule of 2.5. But I think 25 is a prettier number. So if you own $2,500 or more of the value of real property, you can't vote on it. You have to file a conflict of interest statement. So now that you know what a conflict of interest is, what do? You file a conflict of interest statement as soon as you find out about this being on an agenda, and you file it with the city secretary's office. Tia or Robin or somebody else in that office will be more than happy to take that little piece of paper, put it in a file, and you put a check next to your name. You've complied with state law. If it is on an agenda that you're at, you have to abstain. We ask you to leave the room as well, because why? I don't know if you watch the Astros, but they're very good at reading signs. And we want to make sure that you're not sending signals to anybody else on the board, like vote for this. And oh my gosh, this is the worst tasting pie ever. Don't buy from them. So we are going to ask that you leave the room so that you don't make any signs and confuse the people on the dais. Relationship with a vendor, it must be disclosed when receipt of your taxable income exceeds $2,500 in the past year. That's that rule of 25. And if you're related to within the 3rd degree by consanguinity or 2nd degree by affinity. I think my time is not quite up. So I will talk a little bit faster. But I can tell you more about who the 3rd degree and 2nd degree is if you want to meet with me afterwards. I don't have that memorized, but just keep in mind if you're related to the vendor and you're like exchanging holiday cards, you probably need to disclose this. So gifts. That it's holiday season, you get to brag about receiving gifts. Nobody has tried to bribe me, but perhaps it's your lucky day and a vendor may come up to you and say, hey, have I got a deal for you? So there are 4 types of things that state law and our code of ethics require you to disclose. Lodging, transportation, entertainment, and food with this magical asterisk. So it's $100 cumulative within a rolling 12 months, lodging, transportation, and entertainment. So if somebody wants to give you tickets to the World Series, congratulations. If you eat there, you get $100 for the food and $100 for the tickets. But if they are sitting in the suite with you, you can eat up to $500 because if you're close enough to have a conversation with this vendor and you must spend time with them, state law says you get a little bit extra room and you get to be rewarded for the pain of spending time with that vendor. Go ahead and order that second dessert or get a doggy bag to take home to your family or your pet if you have one, and go ahead and get as close to that 500 because you don't have to brag about it until you get there. Additional rules, doing business with the city. If you have aspirations to decide to sit on city council, keep in mind that you cannot have a significant contract with the city. And you say, okay, tell me what significant means. Significant means cumulative value of 1,000. So if you're a short timer and you do one term and it's 3 years on city council, you have 3 years where you can't spend up. You can spend 999. Divide it up, it's 333 per year. If you're a long time, you go the whole 9 years. It's really very de minimis what you could do each year. Representation and appearances. This is my favorite little conversation, but I forgot my hat. So when you are serving on a board, you are serving in your official capacity for that board. If you decide you want to go post on the internet, next door, write a letter to the editor, if people even do that anymore, you have to state which hat you're wearing. In my capacity as a member of the Parks Board, my position is this. In my capacity as a resident, my position is this. Now, fortunately for you, you guys don't do anything very political. And so you can usually walk around the grocery store, go to the movies, and people don't go, aha, and wait for you to say something wrong. However, planning and zoning and city council, they do step in more things than you do, and it's very hard for them to take that hat off. I tell city council that hat never comes off while you're in office. There's no way you could ever do anything in your personal capacity, because while you're elected to office, you have no personal capacity. You will always have your hat on. So what you're going to find out is conflict of interest. Like we mentioned, you may have business interest or it may be your property. So you are able to go in front of another board and say, hey, planning and zoning, I really would like you to take, consideration and vote on my item. This is my property. Hey, ZBA, I want this extra patio built on my on the backyard. Will you vote for me? And that's okay. And when you go there, you're going in your personal capacity. Do not get up from the podium and go, hey, ZBA, in my capacity as a Parks Board member, I really think I need to have this patio. Don't do that. Take that hat off, wear your personal hat, and you should have no problems. Misuse and disclosure of official information. This is when you're having a super bad day, and not only do you have to talk to me, but you have to do it in a closed executive session because there's a good chance that y'all have been sued. I'm providing legal advice. We're asking you not to disclose that. Good news, my entire time I've been here, the Parks Board has never been sued. Y'all are doing great. Your predecessors have been doing great as well. Let's keep up the streak. Participation in procurement. This applies to those fine folks on city council. We ask that they do not get involved in any purchasing negotiations or anything. We do follow state law. We're very strict about that. And we do not want our council members or other board members to go out to a vendor and say, hey, guess what? I got the secret information. Let me tell you how it's done. We don't want that. If we find out we've done that, that's a violation of the code and we will disqualify that vendor. We want a fair planning opportunity for every single person doing business with the city, and we want to comply with law. Campaign contributions, like I said, you may have aspirations some days of spending every Tuesday night sitting on that dais and there and making the tough decisions. And if you do, and you take campaign contributions, just ensure that you don't take $25,000 or more, excluding attorney's fees and court costs, from somebody suing the city. If you do that, you're going to have a conversation with me and you're going to have to give that money back, because we do not want there to be any chance that it looks like you might be being bribed for your opinion. So I went very, very fast. I think you heard the timer go off. But if you can't sleep tonight, or if you want to read in great detail, you can find it in Chapter 2, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinances. And if it's still too much information and you have any questions, call me up, send me an email. I'm happy to provide you a written opinion. One great thing about that is if you ask me before you do it, I will write you what's basically a get out of jail free card. I will say, these are the facts you told me. Based on these facts, do or don't do this behavior. And if someone files a complaint and you do get to spend a little bit of time with the IERB, the Independent Ethics Review Board, you can say, hold up, I gotta get out of jail free card. And then I'm in trouble, not you. So what happens if you notice that somebody else is not following the rules? You have to file a written complaint. I get to review that complaint. Then it goes to the Independent Ethics Review Board and there's sanctions. Okay, too fast. So when you file a written complaint, what must be included? It must have your name and your contact information, because we're going to have questions. We're going to say, hey, give us more information. Must be signed and sworn. We need that little notary stamp on there. Must state who violated the code. So we're going to want you to say council member, planning and zoning commissioner, BSC commissioner, blah, blah, blah. We need their name. Can't have a hearing without knowing who it is. We're also going to ask you to tell us which code of the section you believe is violated and provide us some facts. Not to worry, because I go over this so fast, you don't have to remember these. We have an online form. You click the button and then it drops down and you get to pick. This is what I think, and there's a definition each time, so you'll know exactly which box to fill in. And you can only complain within 1 year of them doing the alleged misdeed. If you wait a year and 6 months, I'm sorry, we can't help you. We want to get the person as close to bad behavior as possible. So I look at this and go, yep, it's been a year. Yep, they're subject to the code. Yeah, that could be a violation. And it's signed and sworn. At that point, I'm done. It gets handed off to the Independent Ethics Review Board and they look at it. They will review it. It's a 2-part process. The first part is a hearing where they look at it and go, the city attorney did check all 4 boxes. Now, based on this complaint, what do? Do we dismiss it because it's frivolous? Like, hey, maybe these neighbors are having a fight and they're just doing this to bicker back and forth. We're not going to get involved in that. Or do we dismiss it because they have that get out of jail free card that Meredith spent, hours writing this beautiful essay for? Or do we want to go ahead and investigate it? Should they decide to investigate it, they have some options. They can issue sanctions if they determine a violation has occurred. And you have something a little like a slap on the hand of a letter of notification, all the way down to the death penalty 6 and 7. So because city council appointed you to office, city council has to unappoint you to office. Because elected officials are elected in, they have to be elected out. So just for that. Now we went really fast. Do you have any questions? This is your moment to ask your questions.
Questions?
All right, now we're going to play. I was giving you a chance. Just thinking, I told you I like games. I like games. This is interactive. So we can all shout out at the same time. The purpose of the Code of Ethical Conduct is. Perfect. The purpose of personal code of ethical purposes, personal conduct and ethical behavior include. All right. Yes, thank you. Got a perfect record so far. If you receive a blank valued over $100 from a city vendor, you must. This is one of my favorites. Okay, yes, but are you taking a cruise or are you going to go for the llamas? Going for the cruise? Okay. So far, everybody has gone for that cruise. Nobody wants the llamas. And you're the 5th time I've presented this. I'm just holding out. So confidential information obtained during a blank can blank.
A closed extension. And then not be used for your own.
If you would financially benefit from a contract which the city is considering purchasing, you should. Well, it is like, I don't know if you've ever played Cards Against Humanity, but it gets funnier as you go when you're running out of answers. If a relative will receive a financial benefit from an item on an agenda for consideration, you should, and. I'm so proud of y'all. Y'all gotta keep the streak alive. If you have to abstain from voting on an agenda item, you should blank and then. Oh, still reading? Okay. If your friend asks you to use your position on the Parks Board to get them a discount on the pavilion rental for an afternoon to blank, you must. Are we going for the cruise again? Or are we going for Bunko? To file an ethics complaint, a blank must be blank. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, next item we have fact finding and recommendation. So consideration of an action on the recommendation for the submittal of the 2023 Tree City USA application to the city manager. Henry will be right away, service manager will be presenting on this matter. And so just kind of as a reminder, we will be taking a vote on this, FYI.
Thank you so much, Park Board. As I said, my name is Henry Becker, Right-of-Way Services Manager for the Public Works Department. And I am here to ask for your approval for us to submit our annual application to Tree City USA, which gives us the designation of a Tree City USA city, which comes with all the work that the Public Works and Parks is doing together to care for trees, maintain trees, and make the city look the way it does, as good as it does. So here we are, the City of Sugar Land's 2023 Tree City application. There are some responsibilities the board has, is participate in annual Arbor Day proclamation and activities, including city council proclamation. This year it was done via consent on November 7th. So this is passed. Participate in trees across Sugar Land tree planting, which was November 4th, 2023, which was a successful event. William, how many trees was it? 130 trees?
133.
133 trees that we put in the ground, planted at Collin Park. And we truly hope that those trees survive and prosper and look good out there at the park. It's amazing things that are going on out there at the park. And public awareness education, that's something that's both via on the city's website. Parks has information out there, Public Works has information out there that is available for residents to look at and learn more things about what we're doing to care for trees throughout the city. And ultimately approve the Tree City application renewals. And this is an annual thing. So requirements, a tree border department, which we have, a tree care ordinance, which the city does have, a community forest program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. Now that $2 per capita is the minimum, but anytime we can exceed that, that's what we try to do. And that you'll see as we go on, there's another slide that talks about the years throughout the years, how the money, the budget per capita changed a little bit. And all that's based on the funds that are provided each year toward taking care of trees. And an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. So they're the community forestry program, at least $2 per capita, which I said. This year, our rate was $3.58 per capita. Last year, it was $4.05. And like I said, that's all based on the current funds available to take care of managed trees. Here's the copy of the proclamation that was presented to council on consent on the November 4th. And the event, which I spoke about, was November 4th out at Collin Park. And we partnered with Keep Sugar Land Beautiful to get these trees basically sometimes donated, sometimes bought, and planted with many volunteers. And like I said, it was a great event, successful event. So next steps, this is a screenshot of what the application page looks like. So what I'm asking from the Parks Board is approval. And once we get the approval, we have to take it to the city manager to sign the application. And then once that's done, we submit it by the December 31st deadline to get that designation of Tree City USA. And that information is out there on websites. So you can go to Tree City USA, you can type it in. There's all the different cities all over the United States, Texas that have this designation. And there's other different designations that come along with it as well. So with that, Public Works and Parks Department together, the staff recommends approval of the Tree City USA application.
All right, thank you. I think this is I think this is questions.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to make a quick comment. Something I think everyone's aware of this application. We do it every year. I think it's a great event, and I think Sugar Land does a fantastic job of not only maintaining the trees but also planting more trees. So, with that said, just last set of questions or comments.
Just a comment. I love that we're the tree city, and I want us to continue to be the tree city.
Okay.
And so I would like to make a motion if we're ready to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we approve, or do we recommend for approval? We approve.
We recommend for approval.
We recommend for approval the
Submit.
tree city application for 2023.
Thank you, ma'am. Second. Okay. Thank you, Andy. So with that said, the board is we'll take the vote for the actual approval and recommendation of this Tree City application. Raise your hand. Got unanimous decision. Thank you very much. Anybody against? I don't see anyone. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time on this, Henry.
Thank you.
All right. So with that said, that is actually passed on that. The next item on the agenda is consideration of an action on the recommendation of the projects team for the future senior center location as part of the senior center needs study. So this is another item that we're gonna have to vote on, just FYI for everyone. So Farrell Dew and Parks Development Manager and Emily Murphy with BRW Architects will be presenting.
Good evening. A couple months ago, which is the last meeting on, participated in the fund game for the senior center. The application notification, today, on consultant, we are doing options. We will share the results from the fund game survey. And also, most importantly, we are going to station on the future senior center location for your review and approval. Just a very quick, a little bit of project background. Our T. Harmons Center, which is our center.
Oops, sorry. Could you hear me? Okay. T. Harmons Center was renovated in 2011. Since then, the membership has gone up by 460%. Our 2018 Parks, Recreation and Open Space Master Plan acknowledged that the senior center being overly crowded and recommended the new senior center to be one of the high priority capital improvement projects. Although during the COVID, the membership went down, but right after the COVID, the membership went back very quickly. And then in our 2023 membership count actually doubled from the last year. That's why we asked BRW Architects to do the senior center study, and so that we can prepare for the upcoming bond election. Very quickly, this is a diagram for the project process. I actually shared last time. Back in 2022, we had a first round of public open house to gain the public feedback on the general feedback on the senior center needs. And then right now we are in the programming and the site analysis stage. We just had the second open house on the money game, and with the analysis from the survey, the site analysis and the site recommendation, we will be BRW will be able to start the third stage, which is the concept plan options and the initial budget estimate. And then after that, they will come back to the public with the alternative site plans and then ask the public feedback. And then with the comments from the public, we're going to wrap up the final report. So now I would like to turn the presentation to Mr. Jay Holliday, the principal of BRW Architects, and the associate, Emily Murphy from BRW Architects. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let you run the slideshow.
Yes.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm Ray Holiday, principal with BRW Architects. Just I guess a little briefing about us and our firm, just in case some of you are new. We're 145 person firm. I need to stand.
Next to a mic.
All right, I'm gonna.
If you want to hold this, you can.
I'll. We're not getting along. We're about 145 person firm. We have 4 offices. We're out of College Station. We got about 42 up there. I'm principal in charge of that office. So, company's been in business 39 years. Our office 25th year. So we're all excited about that celebration. I guess for myself, I've been practicing for 31 years. I'm originally from Nebraska, so the Tree USA is funded by Arbor Day Foundation, which is in Nebraska. So just kind of throwing that out there. But been in Texas for over 25 years, and we focus on municipalities is our sector that we focus on. We do a lot of city halls, fire stations, senior centers, law enforcement, and so forth. So that's kind of our bread and butter.
of our company in terms of the type of work we do and have been doing. With me is Emily Murphy. Emily's been practicing for 8 years, including school. With school, so I also teach at A&M, so she was a student of mine, so I stole her after she graduated, so. But she's been involved with the senior centers that we've worked on. We worked on Pearland Senior Center a number of years ago. And then more recently, Mount Bellevue, we opened that a few years ago in the Houston area. And then Humble's in construction right now, and Emily's been a vital role in project manager on the project. So that's why she's part of your team here. So I think for tonight, we're going to go over a little bit about the 4 sites as well as the kind of the results of the money game. They're all 4 good sites, but there's certain characteristics we're looking at. I think we broke it down in like 22 different characteristics of looking at the sites and the pros and cons of that. And then we kind of scored it. And then we're going to kind of show those scores here in a little bit here. So that's kind of the brief agenda of what we're presenting to you. So I'm going to let our project manager kind of fill in the rest.
Thank you. Again, I'm Emily Murphy. And just to go over what Finling, thank you again, Finling, for the introduction. Went over with you guys the money game that you all participated in last time. Just a quick overview of that. Participants were given 50 stickers to buy the rooms or spaces most important to them. This is to represent budget or site constraints that go into any project. And then the results from this was what we included in our programming and how we determined square footage and what spaces were most desired by the participants. We got a pretty good turnout, I believe, at the meeting was about 70.
About 40 people in the open house.
40 people in the open house. These are some images from that. And then just to kind of remind you of what those looked like, the stickers that could be placed on there, comments that could be written, an explanation of what each room could house in it. And then here's some results. So the graphs that we found, the data we found most important from this study, we analyzed this data in a lot of different ways, but just to be respectful of y'all's time, we'll just go over the one that we found the most telling. And that was the one that the number of people who voted for each room. And so you'll see the most favorable rooms were the gathering place, the multipurpose room, the kitchen, and the dance and aerobics room. And then you can kind of see there's about 173 participants. So you can see a lot of these spaces got more than 50% of the votes. So you can see that there was a lot of interest in many different spaces, with a walking track and a pool also being a notable important space. So just a quick summary of that. In general, the amenities that we were proposing was on par with what participants were envisioning. We also had room for other comments. If you remember, we didn't get a lot of other comments that were outside of what we were already offering. And then more than half the participants voted for a dance aerobics room, fitness room, classroom, coffee bar, walking track, library, and a movie room. And then some big comments that we took away from personal interaction as well as write-in were that a lot of these active spaces, such as the dance aerobics room, gym, multipurpose room, could be combined into one multipurpose type of space. And then all of the social spaces, such as the library, coffee bar, gathering spaces, cafe, could be combined into a large gathering social space. And then the community also expressed an interest in a pool. While that is not something that has been determined yet or not, we do want to make sure that when we're looking at the sites, we're taking into consideration whether or not that's feasible. So each site was analyzed for a 25,000 square foot program based on the results of the money game. We have 4 sites. We analyzed each one with 22 characteristics. We gave them, each characteristic got a 1 through 5 rating, 5 being the most favorable, and then we will go over our recommendation. So these are 4 sites, the current DE Harmon site, the 65-acre parkland site that's proposed for next year's bond, I believe, to be developed. And then available retail space, an example, we don't have an available retail space specific that we are looking at. So we're looking at examples being Gander Mountain And then another example being the 24-hour fitness center. So these are all the characteristics that we looked at on each site. Won't make you memorize them. They should be in your site analysis. So I believe that's in your packet if you want to look through them at all. So this is the current TE Harmon site, and this is a proposed layout of what that site could look like once we developed it. This would include a 25,000 square foot senior center, pickleball courts, a pool, a parking lot with approximately 170 spaces. This would preserve the time capsule and the walkway, and then as you'll see, the rec center is to the south there. So some exceptional features about this site is the proximity to the recreation center and the fact that they could share resources, the adjacency to Imperial Park to share those walking trails, the shaded outdoor areas, and the pleasant views that come along with that. Some major disadvantages would be the set boundaries that are we have to work within, so we don't have as much flexibility. The construction duration probably being the most notable. Construction would be going on for 1 to possibly 2 years, depending on the size of the building. And there would then be either no senior center during that time, relocation of the senior center, or trying to inhabit the senior center during construction, which can be a safety issue and of course a comfort issue. And then our second site, and I apologize if you look at the top, the rating for this one was a 73 out of 105. And if you look in your packet, it has each one of those characteristics broke down based on, and that's how we got to that rating. So the next site would be the 65-acre community park. Here's where that is located, close to Highway 90A. Here is, again, just a proposed layout of what we could do here. Something to note on this is we do have some more space to expand here, and so things can get a little bit more flexible, and you can include a lot more landscaping that would have sight and sound boundaries, or sorry, barriers, so that you could kind of protect and enclose the senior center, and then you could have kind of more free-flowing parking and walking trails. Some exceptional features would be creating an anchor for the 65-acre community park, so something to kind of ground that development. Will create a great synergy between this facility and other uses of the park. It's easily accessed off of 90A. The proposed park would provide amenities that'll be available to the visitors of the senior center. They could kind of share those amenities, and it could be planned so that everything works cohesively. And then the flexibility of the site and the design potential is really high up on that list. We could really do whatever the city of Sugar Land wanted to do in this area. Major disadvantages would be the lack of existing infrastructure, the fact that the land is kind of pending the bond election, and that it's a new location for the seniors to have to become accustomed to, whereas they're kind of used to going to the center where it is now. Although this is just up the road, it is still a change. And so with those things in mind, we gave it this site a score of an 88 out of 105. Our next spot we looked at was the Gander Mountain space. Some exceptional features for that was that we'd be occupying a currently vacant space and that it has existing infrastructure. But some major disadvantages would be that this would be a rental, not an ownership. So you would have a liability instead of an asset. You would also be limited in your design because everything would kind of be dependent on the building owner. And then there's a potential of the building owner selling and the senior center having to vacate after spending the money to renovate. It would be an extensive renovation to kind of get natural light and rework such a large space that's used for a very much different program. There's not designated parking, which can create a safety concern, especially when it comes to senior citizens. It has large amounts of traffic, and the city would lose the sales tax that the building could be incurring. It is also at a pretty distant location from what the seniors are used to right now. And then the last space, and that in mind, we gave this one a score of a 43 out of 105. And then the last one we looked at was the 24-hour fitness center. Exceptional features for this would be, again, occupying a vacant space. In this case, it's a positive because the city would own the building and it would have its own dedicated parking, so you wouldn't have the safety concerns of different use parking, different age demographic parking, and concerns when approaching the building. Some major disadvantages would be the extensive renovation. Again, it's very much a building that's not programmed for a senior center, so to fit a senior center into a space like this would require a lot of renovation. The loss of the economic development potential of a prime location, and it's the location not being centralized to neighborhoods. And then again, the large amount of traffic with it being right off the highway is another safety and logistical concern. So we gave this site a 46 out of 105. So here's all of those scores broken down side by side. Again, this should be in your packet if you want to read each one. But we gave, again, the TE Harmon site a 73, 65 acre site an 88, the retail Gander Mountain space 43, and then the 24-hour fitness space at 46. So based on these characteristics, and site 2 being the site earning the most points, BRW Architects recommends that for the location of the new senior center. And we recommend the Parks Board approve site 2 for the future 65 acre community park center and for the new location of the new senior center. Are there any questions?
Lots.
Thoughts? Okay. Great.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so for site 2 though, would another advantage be the fact that, I mean, the increase in attendance from 1,000 to 2,000, that's, to me, that's astronomical. With this new site, if we get that much of an increase in the future, would this site allow for additional future expansion, modifications, whatever?
Absolutely. And that's a good point. I don't believe it's listed on the slide, but I do believe it's listed as one of the characteristics. But yes, the ability to expand, and it could be designed, laid out on the site so that we have a specific area designated for expansion, is a huge benefit of this. And it is a unique benefit to this site over all 3 other locations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Heather?
Okay, I have a couple. So for site 2, maybe this is the easier question. Is there an overall cost estimate for both site 1? I know site 1 and 2 are probably the closest ones. So just to compare site 1 and 2 to do those improvements, is there a cost?
We do not have a cost estimate yet because we haven't gotten into space planning yet, since we're kind of trying to determine the site before we get into like floor plans, elevations, that kind of thing. But the cost of either the demolition or the renovation of the existing senior center would outweigh the cost of bringing the infrastructure to this location.
Okay. And I know there were some surveys done for those attending the senior center now. I guess as far as the new location, if we choose site 2, I think you said it's 2 miles away. Is that something in the survey from those that attend that would they care that it was moved, or have we surveyed?
Yes, we actually. So in the phase 1 podcast, we actually had a question about how many minutes that people would like to drive. And I think a majority of them are willing to drive within, I would think like 15 to 25 minutes. So actually, I myself did like a Google direction, and then from any edge of the city of Sugar Land, if you drive to either side 1 or side 2, it's within 25 minutes. Yeah. However, the 3 and the 4, if we go back to the location plan, the 3 and 4, they are kind of at the
either edge of the city. So the one and the two are most pretty much in the central area.
Okay, great. I have more questions.
Yeah.
Back to my first one about the cost. I was reading in your notes here about so you said the cost to bring in infrastructure won't be as much as a cost to demo everything. It mentioned something about the costs for the infrastructure would be covered by the bond. Can you clarify or expand on what that means?
So the cost for the infrastructure coming directly to the building would likely not be, but if infrastructure is being brought to this site already for that development, then it would we could piggyback off of that and just have a smaller connection basically for utilities.
Okay, great. And what's my last question? This site is not, it's not in the floodplain, correct? The site 2 that you're recommending, it's outside the floodplain?
Yes, to my knowledge, yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Yes, I believe with the study that you guys performed before.
Yeah, the whole site, there was a PR done back in 2013. And then there was site analysis. There is some drainage corridor at the north and then take it to the middle. So that's kind of a little bit low area. And then at the north, there's a big ditch, kind of a water drain over there. And then it's not in a floodplain.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay, let's follow that question. I'm sorry, Kelly. I know you have the questions too. We're gonna have lots of questions on this one. So if with the floodplain that was done in 2013, was that study, the PER study, updated with the NOAA, the new NOAA data?
We are hoping, if we could get the bond election, this project passed, we are hoping to relook at the site plan.
Okay.
Because that was done in 2013. And to clarify, it's not in a floodplain. So
okay.
Something else worth mentioning is the location we chose here is also abstract. It could potentially exist anywhere on the 65-acre site. This is just what we felt at this time, just looking into it as far as we have, that this was the best location to not have to redo too much of the work that you guys had already planned out. Yeah. But if at any point it needs to move to another section of the park, that's still a possibility.
Right. I was referring to the NOAA data, which is the Atlas 14 information, which has new flood information wise. But you're saying that with the new bond, that'll hopefully bring about updates to that PER.
Yeah, if that project is able to be funded, the first thing we'll do is to update the PER.
Okay.
Just this site is located, as you can see, it's all like fully developed around it. There's all regional detention within the whole development. This tract was laid out as part of the general plan for Telfair development. So the drainage is, we don't have to come in and do extensive drainage work on the site. I mean, we'd have to tie to existing inlets into existing drainage, but we wouldn't have to do large scale like detention or other significant drainage work on this site. Now for the what you're talking about, Atlas 14 could dictate the elevation of the building.
Well, and also not only that, the Atlas 14 information could circumvent some of this information because it's a new development on a site itself, even though it's developed. But was this information provided before? Did I miss it? Or is this is the first time everyone's seen this? Okay.
Yeah, we just provided the hard copy.
I know. And so I'm asking this question because there's a lot of detailed information in here. And it would have been nice to read it before we met. And with the information that you're presenting, I'm just kind of wondering, you're asking the board to actually vote on moving forward with the actual one of the 4 sites, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll have comments on that. Anyway, Kelly, go ahead.
I'm just following on what you're thinking. I mean, I would like a lot more time to look over this before we have to vote on something. But I do have other questions. So can I just throw out a couple things? So this goes back to what Heather, I think, was talking about too. Expense wise,
there must be, I understand that you aren't going to have firm expenses, but the expense of rehabbing the Gander Mountain space or the 24-hour fitness space cannot be nearly the cost of building a new building, right?
That's a complicated question because it kind of depends on what kind of rehab you mean. If you're talking, we're just gonna throw new signage and paint, then of course not. But if it's something that you want to make it a nice facility with natural light and a pool and amenities and pickleball courts and outdoor walking trails and drop off parking for safety and designated parking, then you're getting into things that aren't even possible right now with the structure of that building.
Okay, when on the issue of, I guess it's the site 420, and unless I'm mistaken on this, that's the 24-hour fitness is the site that's on 59 near Sugar Creek. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think Sugar Creek probably has one of the highest proportions of people over 50 in the city, right? I don't know. And maybe you've measured that from, you know, something, I mean, maybe there are other areas where there are, you know, kind of aging populations, but to say that that's outside the main part of the city, I'd be shocked. That seems to me like it would be an ideal spot for something like this. But, you know, and going back to the number of participants, you know, if we've got 173 people out of 2,000 that are filling out a survey, I almost feel like we don't have enough information yet, but that's just me. So.
Yeah, we are planning to put the kind of more survey out there to get more people to engage during the process. So right now, the overall comments, like I think that they voted on the programming priorities. That's kind of related to the design. But at the same time, it does not really drive the location. I think the BRW architects, they recommended a comprehensive way to look at the location analysis. So that's the kind of the system we go with in terms of the location. I know we do have a heat map for current seniors where they live, and but we don't know in the future where the seniors live. However, just physically, the city's boundary is kind of roughly, if you kind of the city's boundary is kind of rough. I mean, I wish we put a city limit here, but this is more of a west edge, and then here is more east edge. So you know, just the 1 and the 2 is more in the middle. That.
And that heat map from our we have a heat map that shows our current seniors and where they live, the ones that are members of the senior center, and they are heavily concentrated sort of in that area between 1 and 2, kind of in that northern part of town. There's a heavy concentration in that area of our member seniors, not all seniors within the city, but of our member seniors. And one thing that I urge us to think about is that this isn't for just the seniors now. This is for our seniors 20 years from now as well. So like Fung Lin said, we don't know where those folks are going to live, and we need to think towards the future as well.
And just to touch on your point again, this is just to move forward with this study. We'll continue to gather more input, more than those 173 participants. This is just to continue to move forward with the study. We're not in schematic design yet, even. There's still a long ways to go between now and then. It's just if a site could be selected, or at least at this point favored, it would be beneficial to have a more successful study and gather more information from that, if that makes sense.
And with site 1 and 2, they're both in park-like settings, and the senior centers that we've done and other cities have done are usually adjacent to a park for a couple of reasons. It has shared amenities that can happen as well as if you look at site 3 and 4, the parking is right off busy roads and so forth. Again, seniors, some of them doesn't affect them as the older ones, just high speeds and so forth. It just minimizes any kind of potential issues and so forth. Same with 1 and 2, the parking is well laid out. We try to have as much parking as close to the entrance as possible, whereas in site 3 and 4, the parking is already there. It's not designated for seniors. Where in the if it was a ground up senior center, we could designate the parking for those that need to be closer to the doors. We can designate that.
We could have more handicap spaces, we could have covered drop off areas.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, again, I don't, my recollection of site 4 of the 24-hour fitness site is that it's only parking for that site. Like there are no other businesses on that site, right? So it would be completely designated for that purpose.
For the 24-hour fitness center.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So in other words, for the senior center, if that's what it became. I mean, you wouldn't have conflicts with other businesses or something like that.
You would have conflict with other businesses, you would have the traffic off the highway.
Right, but there are also those roads that go behind it that are quiet, that come from Sugar Creek. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's a whole system of 2-lane roads behind it as well.
How many levels is the 24-hour?
Two levels.
It was just 2 levels.
So I had several questions. So first, appreciate the I guess preliminary study to be done, but curious on how you came up with 4 selected sites, 2 of which were retail existing space, and other one's of course the existing space itself. And you have that open land, the 65-acre parkland site. Have you considered other areas such as the university park area? I mean, other sites that's part of the whole system of the. I mean, there's a lot of other open land I could think of, or in the commercial self. If we're going to give a recommendation, is that something that we're going to have to lock into? Because it's going to take at least another 1.5 to 2 years, as mentioned, to upgrade the site itself. Does that mean that that y'all would have to lock in, let's say next month? I'm just using something that might be more drastic, but the point is that y'all do a study. Is that study going to be locking that site in at a later point, or do we have to lock it now in order to lock that site in? And you mentioned that I got a little confused when you said it's a recommendation is to consider a site. So that's what are we doing? Are we actually locking the site in today, or are we considering it? Because if we're considering, as an example, a retail spaces don't they could come and go really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to know exactly what we're trying to do.
It'll be added to your question.
Yeah.
So what Hochin was asking also about like these spaces that you guys picked out. Now, it's not really you guys picked out, it's probably the city helped facilitate some areas too, right? Some studies saying, here's 8 spaces. Which spaces do you think works best? Were you given more, or is this something that your team pulled out, or is it, the city kind of helped pull that together? Yeah, so that's what I make sure, yeah. Yeah, I'll add in later after this.
So, we actually did a lot of in-house study before we are able to hire BRW architects. So during the in-house study, we actually look at a number of potential locations. Certainly the first is the current senior center's site. And then we look at another site that the city owns that's near the fire station, kind of down the road a little bit. And then we look at the open land that's near, kind of helping out the TSLB old office. That's
right on Brook Street.
so basically we were looking at the parcels that the city owns.
Right.
And then that those parcels have the potential for us to build a new building. And then we did some simple like a site design in order to know how feasible it is to have a senior center. For example, for the parcel near the fire station and also the parcel near the Brook Street and the Highway 98, they are just too small. It's even you can barely fit a $10,000, I'm sorry, 10,000 square foot building of that, which is already our current senior center size. And then we also look at the 65 acre, and then, so when we, and those are the only available then, and then you mentioned about the parkland, and are you talking about the parkland that near the university? Oliver?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, so the parkland, there's I'll hold that university area,
Yeah.
that whole parkland area. I mean, even with the next to the, I mean, there's conversation to be with the A Center as well. Yeah, the Smart Financial Center. I mean, is there some conversation you've had with those landowners there? Because I know they've worked with the city before.
Well, we mainly look at the parcels that the city owns. If we don't
okay.
own this parcel, then we'll have to buy.
I think we'd really like to avoid the land acquisition cost, because that's just gonna, you know, our price per acre here in Sugar Land is extraordinarily high.
Okay.
And so we'd be talking millions of dollars just to be able to buy the site. So our analysis looked primarily at sites that the city already owns.
Okay.
And so we could avoid that expense. And we've had direction to look at retail spaces, if there's empty retail spaces. But what we found in doing that is there's not, fortunately in Sugar Land, if a space goes empty in retail, generally there's another business that goes in right behind it in most cases. The Gander Mountain's a little unusual that it's been vacant that long. So that's one of the reasons we really looked at that one. And then also the 24 hours been vacant for a while. But we kind of, our direction has been to look at retail spaces. So we took two kind of off, they're both kind of different facilities, but they're both kind of along that line of reuse of the space. So that's why those two particular ones were looked at for part of this study. But yeah, we would really try to avoid land acquisition cost if we can, because we're also, if we buy the land, we're also taking that land off the tax roll too.
Right.
Especially if it's prime real estate, like down by Smart Financial.
Because I do agree that building on a city-owned land makes more sense. But Kelsey, you have a question, comment?
I guess just backing up the conversation a little bit, are we saying that the TE Harmon Center would eventually go defunct and this would be the new location? Or would we run two senior centers? And if we run two senior centers, is there an ability to maybe do some renovations or rehab the current senior center in addition to the new site that's being proposed?
We are looking at having the new senior center, and then the current T. Harmon Center building will be repurposed to some other usage.
Okay.
We actually had conversations with the facility, the public works, and the city needs a lot of space, so they're wanting to be able to reuse the building for.
Thank you. Yeah. And real quickly, could you go back to the slide that had the bar chart where all of the priorities were? Great, thank you. That's okay.
No.
So the, I'm sorry, the site without anything on it right now, the park site, I think you had in here, it was like 25,000, 22,000 square foot building. What are the dimensions of the other three? So you said current is 10,000, is that right? Square feet?
Yes, we mean the other three potential sites we look at. Yeah, we already look at for a 20,000 square foot building just to test the site. And the few sites that are just too small, because not only we have to fit in the building, but also we have to fit appropriate amount of parking. And not even mentioning the seniors, they want some outdoor space too. So those sites we just after the internal study, we just thought those are too small for this purpose. And then
the Gander Mountain site or building, again, this is just an example of a retail space. It's approximately 65,000 square feet.
Oh, okay, it's huge.
And then the 24-hour fitness center is approximately, again, just an example of a retail space that's vacant right now, is approximately 26,000 square feet.
And those include parking or no?
That's just the building.
Just building.
Okay. And the building on the 65 acres was going to be
25.
approximately 25,000 with room to expand for future expansion.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Heather. You had a question.
Okay, so I have a couple more questions, because I know 1 and 2, the scores are pretty close, so I just have a couple questions to clarify since they are so close. You're saying site 1, the main disadvantage is there's not enough space to accommodate the building, the parking lot, and desired exterior amenities. So that means, does that mean those things wouldn't be provided if site 1 was chosen? Or can you clarify what that means, that sentence?
Yes, I'm gonna go back to site 1 real quick. So here you'll see we're spilling out onto the current park. And so we would have to relocate the batting cages, storage building, et cetera, to get in the outdoor amenities that were desired, such as a pickleball court and the pool, and connect the walking trails. This also has, sorry, I'm trying to read, 170 spaces in the parking lot. This isn't our preferred type of parking lot layout for a senior center, because there's not a lot of landscaping. It's pretty dense parking, a lot of concrete. So it's a good amount of parking, but it's just not ideal. And then the building itself would be about 25,000 square feet still, but it wouldn't have the room to expand that the other one would have. And then you would also be sharing the parking lot with the rec center. So you would have, well, obviously each building would probably park closer to people would be going in and out of the same entrances and things like that. So you would have some overlap there of potentially people using the senior center parking lot for other things.
Okay, so.
And you lose a building too, because the existing building is right there. So that building is going away.
Right, but in summary, that they can be provided, you just have to rework the site to provide it. But I think the main thing I heard was there's not really room for an expansion, so that's one other big thing.
Mm-hmm. And reload, you would have to spill onto the park site next door. So if you see, like this line right here is where the existing park starts. So this is us taking away some of that parking.
And you lose 2 years of use.
Yes.
Construction.
I think that is probably the biggest, yeah.
So finally, can I confirm with you again, the city did the study previously before the BRW came in, that y'all look at all the city owned lands and chose the best out of those, and then y'all were instructed to look at the retail. To me, it doesn't make sense. He's retail, but if y'all looked at all the items in terms of all the city owned lands, then to me it's a clear choice. I mean,
Yes.
because it's open lands. It's the 65 acres open, and that was part of what we discussed before. Kelly,
Keep talking questions, but did I hear incorrectly that there was a possibility of purchasing the 24-hour
Yes.
fitness?
It is available for sale. So we would have to purchase the 24-hour fitness.
So that can't be leased. That's a purchase.
That's a
Correct,
purchase.
That's a benefit, isn't it?
I think it would be a benefit.
That's
Yeah.
a city now, it would be a city property, which is.
And do we know the price point on that compared to the other?
Like, I don't know if this is exact or accurate, but I've heard 14 million.
It's
And so,
it's pretty
and I
high.
think that's the asking price for it is what I understand.
and I think that's part of the delay that's going to get into the acquisition aspects of it, which takes, as you could imagine, it's going to take a lot longer. And taking away the tax base for the city of Sugar Land. That's part of the, I guess, the argument behind, or negative aspects of it.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, earlier when you're asking about that whole past study, I said like based on experience, I know where I have whenever we're given a project and we try to find land, or so city or client always comes us, give us, I guess, the spaces for us to pick out. And based on the ones that I guess you guys, the thorough analysis, which is, we appreciate. For me, I do like site 2. I mean, for 2 reasons. One big one is actually the the new construction and possible future expansion, and you're able to put so many things. Then two, it's just the, like you put the whole contrast and comparisons of all the places like the 24-hour fitness, high traffic. I mean, exposure and everything, but so high traffic, a lot of people can't pull off into it easily, but this one's more hidden, kind of easier, safer, comfortable place to get to. Take your time. You drive a little bit slower and you absorb the stuff. But so 2A, I like the whole, I guess proximity, if you want to say the neighborhood kind of feel, the proximity of HEB around the corner, some restaurants, it's just this nicer kind of very kind of back Sugar Land area. 2B, is, like I said, the expansion possibility. But if you look at the other spaces, earlier you asked like how expensive is it to build like new construction versus retrofitting. That is really bad because some things are not compatibly, well built for the bones. It's not well because proportion, infrastructure, and then the new pieces that you add into it, it's not right. It's going to be very expensive. But I do like the two because it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So,
okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Comment?
Yeah, I just had a question about the overlay of the site plan on site too. And number 4, it says detention area. We were talking about flooding and drainage, et cetera, earlier. Is that meant to be like a water detention or like a pond area? Is that what that means?
This is in case we do need it, just kind of showing that we have it, but there is regional detention. So there's a pretty big possibility that we won't need it on site. But it's just showing that there's ample room for it should we need it.
So the details will come in later, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another quick question. Is this, I may be mistaken, is this on the Walmart side or on the HEB side of Highway 6?
No, it's closer to 90.
But it's 90, I saw University there,
You
right?
can see HEB on this map on
Yeah.
the top right
To the
corner
right, yeah.
is HEB.
This is HEB.
That's HEB.
Yeah.
What's the least advantage?
So it's
Oh,
okay.
okay,
West,
It feels very neighborhood.
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Suburban.
Dylan, you have
I'm not sure what we're voting on.
okay, so
So you said you started saying it and I never heard an answer. So what are we approving side 2? Are we approving, because Emily said something about we're just wanting to continue the study or the survey or the investigation of, all the possibilities. And so I'd like clarification on exactly what it is.
So let me clarify. So in order for the next steps to go on, in order for them to develop the building and everything that goes along with it and do those cost estimates and that refinement, we need to pick a site so that we can take that next step. So today's meeting is to concur on that site so that we can then take the next steps in the study, which will be the elevations and the floor plans and how the site lays out and how many parking spaces we have and all of that. So.
And the second question, side 2 already has
Drainage, you said? It already has drainage and it already has all the understructure that you would need to put in if it were just raw land and.
Right.
It has.
well, that's
We'd have to extend.
Oh, there's no.
extend the actual.
Say again.
They would have to extend the actual utilities, water, sanitary service potentially.
Okay.
I assume that there
It's along the
was.
streets.
Yeah. The 2 parallel streets
Okay,
or
thanks.
perimeter streets, but the service lines will be have to extend it, which is not a big deal. But my question was related to the properties in terms of how many properties y'all looked at, but that was a study prior to BRW actually looking at the site. They were given the actual, here are the locations. Find the best one, rank them, basically. That's what I'm hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, go ahead, yeah.
I'm sorry, but something else just occurred to me now that I understand where that is.
Mhm.
Is there any chance that we've got more prisoner bodies down there?
My understanding it has been all cleared.
Well, actually, 17, if this project moves forward, we are going to do further archaeology study. Right now we we know, we did some portion of the archaeology study around the cemetery. And also we, most recently, we asked a consultant to do the desktop archaeology study around that corner and also for the whole property. So there are some areas that, I mean, the archaeologists will have to do more in-depth study in order to, clear us out, if that's a goal.
Could you point out to us where the corner of the Reese property is, where the cemetery is, and then?
Okay. This is that, I should have 95.
Okay, and then the other piece,
The other piece is the cemetery
Right.
the city currently owns.
okay,
So we have done the very detailed archaeology study, within this chain link fence, if you have been to the site. And then most recently, we did the desktop study for this corner, which is cleared that there's no potential to find the bodies. And then the consultant also did a desktop study for the whole area and then made some recommendations. It's kind of a complicated, but in simply put, if we develop further, we need the next step of archaeology study for this area. There's some areas have more chances and than other areas. They just have, it's just, we're going to have to hire archaeologists to do further study.
And that's typically part of the development.
Yes.
That's part of the city. Yeah, I think I have a better understanding now. Go ahead.
Okay, so again, I'm still stuck on, the two sides. We have to split, I think 1 and 2 are definitely close, right? So I just have some more specific questions about the details of the scoring, because basically we're going off the highest score. So I just want to make sure I understand why one gets the higher score than the other. So like the first one, and all of them are so close, so that's why I just have a question. The accessibility in and out of the site. With site 2, the Acre Park got a higher score. I'm trying to understand really why it got a higher score, because it talks about not just accessibility, but then it starts talking about parking, which I think parking is covered in a different.
So talking about access, just access in general to the site, which would probably happen first from a car to get into the building. Access to site 2, we found more favorable because we can design it to be exactly what a senior citizen needs. Whereas site 1, we're kind of working within the current constraints. And it would also be sharing the parking lot with the rec center. So then you would have the shared use parking and you would have kind of the mixed demographic driving of the senior citizens and the teenagers going to the rec center. So it was mostly a safety thing within the parking lot.
Right, so that was kind of why I was confused, because there's also a safety score, which I feel like you're giving both of the, like maybe one score should have been, that would have been for safety maybe, but then accessibility, I think accessibility is available to both. Right, there's 2 entrances in and out, it's accessible if we're focused just on accessibility.
It's accessible, it's not as ideal, especially when you consider like ADA approach and covered drop off, that we would recommend like a curbless approach to the building in a senior center. That's basically so they don't have to take any steps up to get into the building. With a existing site that's can be difficult with drainage. A curbless approach is very difficult to keep water out of the building. So having a new site makes that just all that much easier to accomplish that as opposed to an existing site.
Yeah, to add into what you're asking about, looking at site 2 right here, I think that has more advantage because of the you have large, I guess, roads that can get into the site like University, and then you get Highway 90. Then you have the Easton and then with it Chatham, right? Going in, there are 2 lanes of each, right? 2 lanes, 2 ways.
Sure.
Yeah, so that gives more wide road than from, I guess, Brook Street to the others, the smaller street. Yeah, so that gives more, I guess, more bandwidth for people to go in and out.
And something else, you reminded me when you said that. We kind of have a lot of other businesses around this area that are sharing the main drive into this site, as opposed to at the other location, it's more neighborhood. So it's just a little bit different traffic patterns, a lot more stopping and going in this kind of area, as opposed to the neighborhood traffic is kind of a more easy flowing.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
And that's right, that add the crazy post office people coming out, because you get, post office people, but post office, like people who drop things off, they're angry because they didn't get their passports and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, I mean, it's real tight and small, not to make it funny, but it's true. So you're accurate.
I know, I'm sure there would be a good TIA to be performed as part of this analysis if it was chosen for the two, or any sites really. But this, based on what Heather was saying, it's the question is, the scoring system, was it, I mean, obviously, I mean, I would assume that y'all worked with the Parks and Rec staff in order to score these out. It wasn't just PRW just scoring these randomly.
No, we had many conversations back and forth and many meetings about it.
Okay. Because some of these could be very subjective to case in point,
Yeah,
what she's trying to say.
Go down each one, if we really wanted to, because I mean, they're so close, but
Right.
I don't know if we want to do that.
And it is, I mean, there are times where things do spill over a little bit because it isn't an exact science. It's, you know, it's kind of hard to quantify these things
Right.
sometimes, and that's, we're trying to quantify it the best we can. But there are some areas that it's like, okay, yes, a little bit of this could maybe count here and a little bit of this could maybe spill into this section because it's not an exact science. But this is just our best go at quantifying it so it's easier to compare the advantages and the disadvantages.
Right. And to that point, there's many advantages to a new site versus an old site, especially with the downtime of the existing site. And the fact that we have a limited space, as pointed out earlier, in terms of the site one, which is the original site.
We're just really tight. I mean, you can tell we're taking everything to the curb. There's hardly any landscaping. There's no drop off area. There's no cover drop off area. It's just, we're just really tight. In fact, we're inching into the park space because we don't have room for the pool or the local court.
And even this site, there are quite a few utilities on this site, utility easements that bypass this site that we also have to relocate. There's existing power lines that cut across that we'll have to relocate, existing drainage lines that cut across.
Utilities too.
Underground utilities. So there's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing in here that's either underground or utilities that will have to be completely reworked in order to make this plan work.
Kelly?
So I'm one of those post office people and I drive by that site a lot.
Mhm.
And I don't ever see that many cars at the TE Harmon Center. So I'm wondering how many people are actually there on a daily basis? Like what's your average, use on a daily basis?
It really depends on what classes are going on. A lot of it is class driven. So some of our classes have hundreds of people that, 100 people that go to the class. So there could be, 100 or so people in the building probably at one time. But we have many different classes. We have that many members that come to different classes.
Because I don't know that I've ever seen anything like 100 cars there. I mean, it's, a lot fewer. I'm going to say 20, 30, kind of, and it's just random times, any time of the week. But
I've kind of had the same experience.
yeah, I just wonder how many people we're trying to serve with this size of facility. Like, it's, I don't know. I mean, is 10,000, how did you determine the number? Like 65,000 may be too big, 10,000 may be too small, but what number of people were you working towards, accommodating?
We weren't working towards a goal member number. We were working towards fitting in the facilities in a flexible way to the size that they needed to be. So based on the class sizes for like the multi-purpose room, for example, or the dance classroom, for example, we based it off of that. And then we worked in all the amenities that were desired.
Right.
And that got us to the 25,000. Now that is a flexible number that can come down, that can go up depending on as we get further into it. But that was based on the conversations we've had with the city, and then based on the money game results, that kind of was like okay, best case scenario, we're shooting for the sky. What do we want in this building? And can we make sure that we're not locking ourselves into a site that can't accommodate that?
This, we're getting to a point, a point where we were pre-COVID, where our classes are, a lot of our most popular classes are on wait lists now. So not everybody can get into the classes because we don't have the space to accommodate those classes.
I think as a Parks Advisory Board, I mean, my thought was that we need to look at it holistically to see what options that the city looked at, consultants looked at. And that's why I was bringing up some of the questions on, okay, what other sites were considered? They did that, which satisfied my curiosity, and also the fact that someone asked why these 4 sites. I'm going to say, guess what? The city already did all of the analysis. They looked at the first priority is to say that the city-owned property would be the best. Retail would be some of the items they also looked into. So, I mean, I think that was something that I just needed to make sure that we look at it holistically, so I could answer questions if constituents come up, council members come up to me and ask these questions. I think we're asking the great questions at this point because we want to make sure that somebody else outside this room starts asking us questions, we're able to answer them.
Oh, we give them grief system, say the 3-1 and
It's all there one way.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So just a comment. Thank you for your thoroughness with this, and it does help with more of this discussion to more fully understand the site options. The more I look at site 2, the more I feel like this is a dedicated space for our seniors. It's customized to their needs particularly. And it feels more like a destination. I feel like it's very compelling. I also really appreciate the flexibility in terms of future expansion. And also in terms of maybe this could be a multi-purpose facility that, you know, the city hosts other events and et cetera. I, for one, would love to go to the pickleball courts because that's a fun activity. But with all that said, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and vote on approving site 2.
Before we get there, thank you for that. Any last set of questions before we get there?
One more.
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the advantages you just mentioned about site 1 was its close vicinity to the rec center. What is there going to be a rec center at site 2 added, or is there?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, so they'll just be just a little bit further away. Okay.
And you'll see that that's why it's scored a 5 in site 1 for parks operation compared to 3 at 3.
Right, I think that was the only one that was, I guess, a significant difference between site 1.
Potentially a future park.
Yeah.
Would be at site 2.
So the site 2, all that entire site area is city owned. And it's potential for other buildings, other expansions or parks.
Yes.
And not
Part of that site is still a school district,
right?
But the bulk of it, what's remaining is parkland.
Okay.
But there is some of it still school district.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. So if I'm not mistaken, it's probably been a couple of years ago, we were talking about that area with trails and some other park amenities. Am I wrong? I remember like lighting plans and things. Would that not this area?
Cemetery improvements, Joe, maybe?
I think maybe near the cemetery that's with
Our
the
cemetery, we did see some like preliminary design of cemetery improvements, and this is still a little ways away from the cemetery. You can kind of see it. If I can point out where the cemetery is kind of that grayish area up there. And the cemetery is a very small part of the inside. That's a buffer zone.
Okay.
So the cemetery is only that small area there. And seeing where the red broken line is, this red, the dash line. That's where the focus, if you go to the next slide, that's the more blow up.
And that'd be a good compliment, I think, because it'll bring people notoriety to that cemetery side. That's part of that too.
And currently the cemetery doesn't have any parking.
That's-
So this would be a parking space for people to go to the cemetery as well.
Yeah, good point.
With the connector trailer, right?
So if there's no,
I just have one more comment. So, yeah, I also appreciate, thanks for answering all my questions. I also agree. I think just based off of the discussion, I don't think it was like knockout, like for sure. I knew automatically that site 2 was I do agree that it's a close, but I think site 2 is gonna be better than site 1, so I'm on board now.
All right, perfect. Last step, yes, sir.
So this is all gonna be based on the 2024 bond election. What's our track record with these kind of bonds in the city of Sugar Land? I mean, we're doing all this and come 2024, the voters reject that bond and party over and everything we've just spent on is down the tubes versus going to doing a 24-hour purchase of the building and that's smooth sailing, maybe.
Yeah,
So is there a contingency of the bond?
We're still putting together the project list, trying to narrow down the project list for a bond election. We haven't called a bond election yet. We're just targeting one later in 24, but there's still a lot of work that has to be done on it, exactly packaging that up and what exactly is going to go into that bond election. But regardless of which site we went into, chances are, or location or whatever, it would probably rely on bond funding to do that. Yeah, it's not like there's funds available to go out and purchase any particular building or that right now. So and there again, we're still working out those details. The senior center, due to growth and the age of the building that's there, kind of bumped up on our priority list, and so that's why we're going through this more in-depth study. And I think even if we decided not to do this in the bond election and include this in the bond election for next year, it might go into the next one. This is many of our projects are very long range, especially when you're talking this level of money and magnitude. And this should be, we're hoping that this is a 30, 40, 50-year building and location site, whereas because each 10-year period, we've had to almost double our senior center capacity because of the growth of the program. And our studies are showing that Sugar Land has one of our peer cities, one of the highest number of seniors as percentage of the population. And it doesn't look like, and it doesn't, I should say, when I say senior, over 50 is what we've looked at, like Kimberly was mentioning, the heat maps and things around the city. So, yeah, these are very long range sort of plans. So yeah, if it's not going to happen tomorrow for sure.
All right. So with that said, I will take motion. Kelsey has made the motion to recommend on the project team for the future senior center location. Second, Heather. Thank you. So with that said, we will vote on this. All for those for the recommendation to the project team for future senior center location. Say, I would raise your hand, I guess.
Waiting for site 2.
Site 2.
Clarify, site 2.
Yeah. I guess we have unanimous. Oh, okay. Thank you. We have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, and for those against, thank you very much. So with that said, we got 6-1 vote, and we will recommend PRC to move forward with the actual location. All right. I think that's pretty much it then. So with that said, thank you. Appreciate your detailed report on this, and thank you for answering all of our questions, because this was our first time looking at this.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, the director report. Ms. Kimberly Bell will be presenting in lieu of Joe. New voice and a new voice.
Hey, the director's report is super hefty this time. You'll notice. One, because we've just been doing lots of awesome things, but 2, we haven't met in a while. So it's hard for us to remember, okay, what did we do two months ago? So it may not be everything, but it's significant. So I'm gonna go through some of those highlights.
Congratulations. Thank you.
So Fall Fest happened September 23rd. I promise it was fall, even though it felt like summer. I promise this was a fall day. We had about 5,000 or 6,000 people that attended Fall Fest with us. We had main stage performances and vendors and kids activities. We had our hay ride and lots of pumpkins, all those fun fall things to welcome in the season. We had our very popular Yappy Hour event. This event happens at the pavilion at Memorial Park near the dog park. And we invite folks, dogs aren't required, but we invite folks and their dogs to come. We have lots of doggy vendors there that are often giving away treats and services, etc. We also were fortunate to partner with our animal services department this time. They had a free microchipping event. So we had quite a few folks show up for the microchipping, and we had beer sponsored by Texas Leaguer in Missouri City. So we're very fortunate to have that sponsorship. At the Senior Center, we held a Diwali celebration. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think we had it. It was about 80 people there, lots of dancing, lots of food, very fun celebration. And then we had, I think, Ofrenda, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, for Dia de los Muertos to, at the Senior Center, we often like to, we have folks that obviously that pass our friends at the Senior Center. So we were trying to honor them this year with our altar here, with our Ofrenda. So the city has taken over the farmers market. The farmers market has been running the last 12 years and has been operated by the Chamber of Commerce. The chamber decided that they didn't want to operate it anymore. So the city took up the torch. We felt like it was a very beneficial thing for the city. We wanted to maintain the farmers market. It's in our parking lot over at the IPRC. So we have, I guess we're on our 4th or 5th weekend now of running the farmers market. We are working to grow our number of vendors. If you've been to the farmers market in the past 12 years, you will recognize that the number of vendors has shrunk over the years. It was moved to the IPRC about 6 years ago when they weren't able to operate at Imperial Sugar anymore. So since that time, the market's sort of been dwindling. So we're working very hard and making sure that we're getting the word out and folks are aware of it. We have signs out. We have visitors that come by and say, "Hey, I thought y'all closed 6 years ago." So we have people that are being reinvigorated to the market and re-recognizing that the market's there and coming again. So our vendors are very pleased about that. We've signed up about 25 new vendors that'll work their way in here in the next few months. So if y'all know anybody who would like to be a vendor at the farmers market, please send them our way. The website's sugarlandtx.gov/farmers market. So all of our information application is there if you know anybody that might want to start a business or has a business that might want to be at the farmers market. Our very popular haunted house. Just for those who don't know, our haunted house is one of the only ones in the area that is also geared towards children. We have 2 sections. We have a scary section and a not as scary section. So there's the option for the first part for the kids to walk through and then kind of just bail out, out the back door. I always tell them, we don't judge. You get candy either way. It's fine. So because the first part is more of the static display where it's still really scary. I mean, I've had adults bail out the front, the back of the door, and they can't make it through. So it's really, it's all up here. But so it does offer folks a chance to go through that. And that was open for 3 days before Halloween, and we had about 1,000 people go through our haunted house. Trees across Sugar Land tree planting. I know we talked about this a little bit, but November 4th, over 130 trees planted at Cullinan Park. 5-gallon to 30-gallon trees donated by Centerpoint Energy. And we had over 100 volunteers plant those trees. And we also had a tree giveaway as well as part of that. That's all I have for this one, but y'all have a lot more in your packet and lots of pictures too.
That's a quick comment. I don't know if y'all, just information wise, Centerpoint, along with Arbor Day Foundation, is giving away trees, 2 trees online. I actually got them, I had it already, just for y'all to know. If y'all want it, I could send it. to the link. Okay.
And I will note that we are giving away, so we had some leftover from the tree planting at the farmer's market. If you come visit me on Saturday.
Oh.
I still have some oaks and some elm trees if you'd like some. So we've got some of those. If you want to come beforehand, you're welcome to as well. They're in the parking lot. I just tell them I said it was okay.
Probably the same program as what's online. I just went and picked up 100 of them.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And I brought them to the tree planting event. And we gave anybody away a tree, anybody wanted one. After we planted 133 trees, we gave them away.
I'll take
You planted a tree, you planted a tree, and I'll take one home and plant it. We gave away 45 or 50.
Nice.
And then everybody's in the process of giving the rest of the 50 away at the farmer's market.
Yeah, we probably have about 25 left, maybe.
How big are they? 5 gallons.
They're 5 gallons.
About 3 feet high.
3 foot high.
They're about this tall.
Yeah, 3 foot high. If you have a red oak, I'll take it.
No, we have bur oaks.
Okay, bur oaks is good too.
All our live oaks are gone. I think we might have one left, but lots of bur
Bur
oaks,
oaks are good.
American elm and Drake elm.
Okay.
And what? What was it?
Or was it cedar elm? Sorry, cedar elm.
Cedar.
Cedar elm, sorry.
Cedar.
In American.
In American elm.
All right. Well, is there any questions or comments? No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great job. In absence of, yeah. With that said, I think I'll take a motion to adjourn. Heather, thank you. Second. All right, Andy, thank you very much. With that said, meeting's adjourned. Appreciate everyone's time.
So good seeing everybody. That's.
Yeah.
I know. We just didn't have